Hi, my name is Emily, and today we're going to be painting a fun little landscape. So here's what you're going to need. You're going to need a piece of watercolor paper. I'm painting on a 4x6 inch piece today. You're going to need some watercolor paints and a little place to mix them. Mine is attached to my palette, but if you don't have one, then you can use a yogurt lid or paper plate, something like that. You're also going to need some water, a round paintbrush. This one is a size 8, but any paintbrush that's a similar size will work. You're also going to need a pencil, a paper towel, and then if it's helpful for you, a little scrap piece of paper to test colors on. So let's jump right into it. I'm going to use my pencil to just lay down some guidelines. I'm going to try and draw really light so it doesn't show through my final product. So for this painting, I think I'm just going to do some a mountain and some trees. So I'm just going to kind of draw like a little jagged line with a couple peaks, like so. And it doesn't have to be perfect. This is just to give us an idea. And then I'm going to just kind of draw some lines where I think I want my trees to fall. I'm going to do some taller trees kind of on the sides. And then down here in the middle, I don't really want to paint some grass or anything like that. I just want to paint lots of trees. So I'm just going to put some lines and make them varying heights and kind of make it so they make like the tree line creates kind of a U shape that frames in our mountain really nice. So that's it. Pretty easy guidelines. Let's jump right into painting. Now I'm going to kind of go over the sky area and just add some clean water to it. And I want it to be covered, but I don't want it to be soaking wet with like tons of water on it. A good way to kind of tell and see if you've got the right amount of water is if you tip up your paper and you can kind of see it kind of shines where you've put the water. I've got a couple drips down here that I'm going to just use my brush to kind of clean up and spread around a little bit more so they're not dripping. And I think that's probably a good amount of water. It's a nice sheen, but it's not dripping everywhere. And then I'm gonna do a blue sky, but you can also paint a sunset or something if you want to. I really like this blue, but I don't want it quite so bright. So I'm just going to take a little bit of brown and mix it into my blue. You can also mix in a little bit of orange or yellow to kind of take the color down a little bit. But you can use whatever sky color you want. I'm just going to add a little bit more water. I'm just going to come in here and I'm just going to kind of dab some paints. And I'm going to let the colors, I'm going to kind of help drag it in some places where I want it, but I'm also not going to spread it perfectly smoothly because I want it to look like there's maybe some clouds in the sky. And so I want to leave some white of the paper because that is one of the charms of watercolor is you want some white paper to show through. I'm going to grab a little bit more blue and just dab it kind of up in these corners and anywhere I feel like there needs to be more intense blue. All right, I'm pretty happy with that, but I think I'm going to come in here and just use my paper towel to just kind of dry up a little bit of water down around the mountains, and maybe some like tap in some more clouds. Any spot where I feel like I added too much blue, I can use my paper towel to just kind of dab it up a little bit. Again, I think I'm just going to dry up a little bit around the mountain so I can keep painting without the mountain running into the sky. Because anywhere you touch wet paint to wet paper, you're going to end up with the paint spreading everywhere. So if you want that, it's really fun. But if you don't want it, like I don't want my mountain to become the sky, I'm going to kind of make sure that I've got at least a gap or let my paper completely dry. I'm going to take some more of that blue and some more of that brown and just make kind of a grayish color. I'm just going to take this up. That's a little dark for what I want. So I'm just going to lighten it up with some water. I should have tested it on my paper. That's a little bit better, I think. I'm just going to come in here and I'm just going to dab in a little bit on this mountain. I'm not going to follow my guidelines exactly. So you can see I accidentally touched my wet paper and it's starting to take over a little bit. I'm not going to worry about it. It's not spreading too much, so I'm just going to leave it. And I want to leave some white spaces. So it kind of looks like snow, but I want to have enough of this that definitely looks like a mountain. So I'm just going to do some small little strokes. And then towards the bottom, I'm going to kind of blend it a little bit more. Just like that. Now I've got a lot of excess water towards the bottom of my paper. So I'm just going to kind of towards the bottom of the mountain, and I'm going to just kind of dab it up just a touch. I'm trying to decide if my paper is too wet to do my trees. I think if I dab up just a little bit, I've got some different puddles of water that still haven't quite dried yet, which I think will add some nice texture, and I don't want to take up the paint. But I am going to just use the corner of my paper towel just to kind of dab some of these wetter spots up just a little bit. I don't think I want mine completely dry because I want to use some of the wetness to do my trees, but I still want to have control over it. So we're just going to dab it up just a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to take some green. I'm going to use that same blue that I've used throughout the rest of this painting. I'm going to use some of that. I'm going to rinse my brush off just a little bit before I grab my yellow. I'm going to grab some yellow, and I'm just going to mix these together to make a nice green. I think I want my green to be a little bit more yellow. We're going to get my paint dirty. It's going to be fine. I'm just going to come in here, and I'm going to dab kind of towards the middle of the tree. And as you can see, it's spreading just a little bit. So I'm going to dab a little bit towards the top, but just be really careful because I don't want it to spread too much. I want it to look like a tree, not like a green sky. So just little bits of paint where it's wet. And then I can kind of come down here and use my brush because this part of my paper is dry and I can spread it around a little bit more using my brush. And I want there to be a lot of texture. And this is a pine tree, so I'm gonna for this pine tree, I'm kind of keeping it, really small towards the top and then bigger towards the bottom. And I'm just gonna kind of let my green vary a little bit as I do this. Not a crazy amount because I'll go in and add some shadows and stuff later. So I'm just gonna kind of paint a bunch of trees like this. And I want them to be varying heights and varying widths. I'm just going to use my brush and just tap it in. And I'm going to make my taps, again, more controlled towards the top, a little looser as I get closer to the bottom. I'm just going to go across my whole page doing this. In some spots, my trees might cover more of the mountain, and in some spots, they're going to come down a little lower. And sometimes my trees are going to be really close together, like these two. They're going to be friends. These trees are going to be friends. I'll make him a little bit taller, just so that they're not exactly the same. And then just bigger dabs down towards the bottom. And then this tree, we're going to make him be a little crooked. He's leaning into the other trees. I'm running out of my green paint. Come on this other side. Carefully tap towards the top again because I know my paper up here is probably still a little bit more wet than I really want it to be. But because it's wet, you can see up here it kind of spread out and it's a little bit, got some like pretty yellow separation and fingering, like if that makes sense. It's spreading and separating a little bit. For anybody curious, I'm using Daniel Smith paints because I really like, that's something that they do really well, is a little bit of separating and like spreading, but not all paints will do that, and that's okay. Some people don't like the separating because it's like, oh, I put green here. Why am I getting yellow and blue instead of just plain green? But I like it. This tree's a little crooked too. He starts out crooked and then he straightens out. I'm gonna need a little more paint. A little more yellow. I'm trying to keep it fairly light for this first layer though. Oh, oops. There's gonna be another tree hidden in here just to fill it out a little bit more. Okay, so as you can see, we have a nice like little, I'm gonna bring my trees down just a little bit so they fill up more. I've got a nice first layer of trees. Now I'm gonna go back in and it's still a little bit wet, but it's not like crazy wet, right? And I'm gonna just add some, make another layer of trees. I'm gonna make them a little bit darker. So I'm gonna add some more paint. More paint, less water. And I'm gonna come in here with some darker trees kind of in between these trees that I already have. Again, still kind of keeping things, and kind of keeping some of the same things in mind. I really like painting pine trees. They're pretty fun. This little tree that's going to come in here. And this one's going to have some more branches that kind of point up. Instead of just dabs, I'm going to do some of those. And I'm going to add a little bit more blue to this one, just to make it a little bit darker. There's some more shadows in there. Maybe it's a different kind of pine tree. Who knows? Because those pine forests have like different kinds of things. I'm gonna do another little tree right here. It's a little closer to the front. Do a little bit of a lighter tree because I really like seeing this tree right here behind these two darker trees that are kind of framing it in, but I also feel like it's a really big gap. So we're just going to add in a little shorter tree just so that it doesn't feel like it's too big of a gap. And then I don't like these lines over here. I'm going to soften those up a little bit with some more water. And then it's just kind of fun to paint layers and layers. This pine's branches are going to kind of face up a little bit too. I think if we just fill in a few more, then we can call this thing done. Do another one kind of towards this side. And maybe another short one right here. All right, there we go. So that was just really fun. Like lots of little dabs of paint, light, dark, kind of spread a little bit, like my mountain spread into my sky a little bit, but it just kind of looks kind of fun. So I hope you enjoyed doing that and had fun just kind of messing around. And I hope to see you another time soon.